Get ready. Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are your lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want goals.
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
The Wednesday Week! Hello, good evening, and welcome to a very special episode of the Wednesday Week Owls Alumni Edition. Now, usually we are gifting you the opportunity to have an insight into Sheffield Wednesday men's team players, but tonight joining me, I've got prolific striker Amy Broomhead from the Sheffield Wednesday. Is it women's or ladies team? I need to make sure I get that right.
I want to say women's.
I think it's
I should know that, shouldn't I? But
I thought you'd be swifter on correcting me on that one, Amy. I thought I must admit. Amy, welcome to the show. Now, before I get started, I know what football players are like in terms of their nicknames. Do you have one that I can refer to you as? Do you want me to suggest some as the episode goes on?
Can do. I've only ever gone as Amy, so it's not very creative.
I used to play Sunday League football a few years ago, and we had a kid whose surname was Broom, and he got called Broomdog for a couple of seasons. So that's not bad, is it? Might go with that, Broomdog.
No, not heard that one. I've had Brooming, but that's about it.
Amy, I really appreciate you coming on. Now, just to give the listeners a bit of background on this, we sponsored as a podcast Amy's prowess in front of goal. For the women's team, and I've been gasping to get you on, because with Sheffield Wednesday being in such a turmoil with the men's team, absolutely just causing us grief from start to finish, and I'm really happy I'm speaking to you, because I just want to talk about something else. Like genuinely, I need to talk about something else, because it's absolutely slaughtering me, because it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So you're not from Sheffield originally yourself, right?
Yeah, no. So I'm from Home Firth, so not too far away, but my family's all from Sheffield, so we're all Wednesday fans.
Oh, did you get dragged up with the rest of us then?
Yeah, unfortunately.
So what?
No escaping.
Have you? What was one of your earliest memories then? Going, do you know what? This is actually quite fun. Going to watch the games.
Yeah, I think I was used to. My parents have season tickets, and my grandparents have always had season tickets. So whenever I can, I've always gone. I don't really remember like a specific first game or anything, but it's just like the whole atmosphere and hearing like Higher Silver Lining when the teams come out and stuff. It really grasps you.
Yeah, it really
yeah.
does. It really
and then
does.
It's just been a storm ever since.
Yeah. I mean, what are you? You're like in your mid-20s, early 20s, right?
Yeah, 24.
I didn't want to ask you directly. Thank you for volunteering that information. But there's an element of, we used to have a presenter on this show called Ben, who was 23 when he joined, and his earliest memories were, we're all of a certain age, a lot of us, and we talk about, Hurst, Sheridan, and Waddle, and all the rest of it. But then I was talking to him about who his early memories were and things like that, and he was like going, "Oh yeah, I remember Lee Peacock being on the back of my shirt, and like heady heights of Glenn Whelan and Chris Brunt, which were great players, but that's the best it was ever going to be, right?"
Yeah, it's always like the Marcus Tudd guy. He was like the first one I remember, really.
That's not too shabby, actually. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
So let's get into the playing side of it. I appreciate that girls playing football is a lot more modern than I remember being at school. You guys always got shuffled off to play netball. How did it come about, and how did you realise you had a penchant for it?
I don't remember this. I was only about 4 or 5, but I remember my dad always saying that I used to do gymnastics. And then one time during gymnastics, we had to do something with the ball. Apparently, I was just kicking it about all over the place. And ever since then, apparently, I really wanted to play football. So my parents took me to the local boys team and started there, played there since I was like 11. And I was technically too old to play for the boys, and then moved to women's teams from there.
So they mixed you up until being 11?
Yeah, so I was always the only girl in my team from like the age of 5 to about the age of 11. And then like the FA rules said something about I was no longer allowed to play with the boys. I'm not sure if that's still the same rule now, but yes, and that's when I moved to women's football, but it was always with the boys before then.
Did you find that when you moved to playing football with girls that you were like you gave a bit more out than they were used to receiving? Did you find yourself chucking an elbow in that that some of the girls weren't used to?
I'd like to say I'm not a violent player, but I'm not too sure. I was only small as a kid, so I can't say I was the one to bully players.
And have you always played striker as well?
Yeah, ever since, that's all I've ever played.
Oh wow. Okay, so let's talk about the last couple of years. Let's skip forward and we will hark back, as they say. So last couple of years, the season before last, you had a really prolific time in front of goal, didn't you? What was it that clicked?
Yeah, I don't know. Everything I touched just seemed to end up in a goal, so I wasn't complaining. But I think we just had like a really good system that we kind of knew where each of us were. So like we all worked really well as a team. Like we had a bit of a rebuild, but we seemed to all gel instantly. So that season was just really good, and we all seemed to get along on the pitch as well and have really good awareness of where each of us are and each of us' strengths and all that kind of stuff.
But you were absolutely steamrolling teams. I was trying to get some statistics on you, but I must admit the information's quite sparse. And you spanked 7 in a game.
Yeah, there was one game where that happened. It got to the point where I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I need to stop scoring here.
Echoes of Bayern Munich versus Auckland yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a point where you become a little bit embarrassed, right? Where you're a little bit like, yeah. You stop celebrating after a while, right?
Yeah, definitely. I just wasn't sure like how many were going to keep coming.
So over the last few years that you've been playing, as you've turned 18 and stuff like that, and you start playing women's football, like grown-up football, as it were, have you seen a change in the way it's reported? Have you seen a change in how it's funded and things like that? Because you're a different entity to the club itself. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, Chancellor written pay wages, so we're not getting anything of that. But yeah, it's definitely grown a lot. So I started playing like open age football as soon as I turned 16. So I started out at Huddersfield Town, and they've only just recently been fully affiliated with the men's city team, and that's been like 15, 20 years in the making to get that. So you can definitely see it as a lot more progress. And then when I was at uni at Chester FC, we like gradually got to play at the ground. We got all the up-to-date kits. And then the season that I left, the club paid for everything for them. So they didn't have any fees, and they got to play all their games at the ground. So there's definitely that progression. It's just it just depends on the club really, because like Barnsley have just had, I believe they've just decided they're not funding their women's team anymore. So it seems to be like some teams have got the support and then other teams seem to lose it. But there's been such a growth in the women's game. It's been great to see.
Yeah, very, very much so. I've noticed it a lot more. Did you have any heroes growing up in the women's game? Because I remember there was a girl I used to coach football with a number of years ago, and she used to absolutely be besotted with Rachel Unit. She wanted to be her, and then obviously as the Lionesses have done so well in recent years, like there are genuinely young girls with women's players on the back of their name, and that's amazing, right?
Yeah, definitely. I remember the first like women's tournament I watched was the 2014 World Cup when they finished third. So like all that generation of players are the ones I grew up with, and I remember going to see Man City for the first time, and Tony Duggan scored an absolute world, and I was like, okay, that's well, maybe not, but just seeing like actually having like women's teams and women's games and all that growing up was nice, because you just didn't even, I mean, when I was really young, women's professional football wasn't even really a thing. You had like the England players and that was about it, whereas now there's so many professional teams, so it's great to see.
Because, like, you're going to be one of those. I'm going to give you a bit of background. So when I got into hosting and presenting and showbiz like that, it was just around the time in the late 90s, early 2000s where they realised that let's just put the same presenters on everything. You know what I mean? So it was either Anton Deck or Bruce Forsyth or Vernon Kay. It was one of those. You know what I mean? It was always the same people every time. So that kind of shut the door a little bit on that me progressing in that career. And then Dick and Don came along and ruined it, right? But then if you look at your career, so since you left Huddersfield, they became a professional outfit. Then you left Chester and they became a professional outfit. And now you're at Sheffield Wednesday, where we are an absolute circus right now. And then, you know what I mean? Is there part of you that's looking higher up? Like, for example, Chelsea have just spent, I think, did they buy their women's club for £200 million? Obviously it's a fiddle, but I look back now and think when Chansiri had all that money, there was an opportunity there that I feel like he's missed out on in order to pump funds into the club, as it were.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like for example, Newcastle, they've gone from I remember playing them when I was younger. Their devs team, we were like in the same par, but even then they were playing at their training facilities, so they've always had some support. But now they're just flying up the leagues because they've had that support. So it would have been interesting to see, with more backing from the men's team, what would have actually been able to achieve. But I think we were doing so well as we are right now. But yeah, you do sometimes wonder if all women's team had the same support and same facilities, what could actually be achieved. Yeah,
because I assume it's still a bit spit and sawdust in some areas for some clubs, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some clubs have it a lot worse than you think. But yeah, it's very interesting to see the development of it and all that.
Yeah, I feel like you're at the start of it, and you're going to be maligning whoever the women's football version of Anton Deck is in a few years. So I tell you what, then let's talk about Sheffield Wednesday. Have you got like a standout moment playing for the Wednesday Women?
I think it's always going to be the game at the New York Stadium last season, where there's about 1,500 people there. I mean, even though we lost, it was a great opportunity just to play in front of that many people. It was quite a nice atmosphere, and just playing a proper stadium as well, which is quite rare. I mean, it's very rare. So
it's a bit daunting, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Because even like New York Stadium, it's not that big, but when you're on that pitch, it feels really big.
Yeah, it feels massive. I remember I had a cup final for Skegness Town once, and I was the captain. And I thought, Christ, if we win this, I'm going to lift a trophy in a stadium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got sent off. So
no.
I was robbed of that as well. That's all it's going to be now. It's just going to be me complaining about things I was robbed of. So what was that for? Was that what was that game? The one at the New York?
So it's the her game too. They have like they did have a end of season friendly where they just got a team to play them for a chance to. It was just a friendly game at the end of the season for the chance to win this like trophy. It was like a friendly trophy game, but I think it was just their chance to promote the women's team and give them an opportunity to play in the ground and experience that.
That's amazing. Do you have any like pre-match rituals or anything like that? Put your socks on the wrong feet or something like that?
Not at all. I just rock up, put my stuff on, and just get out on the pitch. I wish I had something cool, but I really don't.
I used to wear a Tubi grip around my wrist like Benito Carbone because I wanted to be Benito Carbone, but it turned out I didn't look and or play like Benito Carbone, so it was just a man wearing a bandage round his wrist.
It's close enough.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Who's the DJ in the changing room? Do you have one?
It's usually Elle, because she or Molly, just because they have the speaker. But it kind of gets passed around a bit.
What sort of trash? What we're listening to? Like, because I can imagine someone's playing some absolute banging EDM, someone's got some hip hop, and somebody wants to listen to Pitch Perfect. That's usually me. Who's got the worst taste in music?
I mean, none of it's my music at all, so I can't really pay that much attention. But it always seems to be the same songs or the same couple of songs that get requested every week. But I could not tell you what they are.
Oh, mine would just be a pop world playlist. You know what I mean? Just get me going, listening to Better Best.
That's what you need.
Right?
Sing along.
It gets you up. That's what you need. So I need to ask you about some of the other girls that you've come up against. I mean, I was always fascinated by sometimes you'd hear people talking about you that you didn't know. around some competitions or something. So they'd be like, I'd be playing in Portsmouth or something like that for Portchester, and you could hear the fans, a couple of the fans or a couple of the other players going, "Oh, they've got that big knobhead Northern at the back, this lot, haven't they?" You know what I mean? And I kind of liked it, because there's people that I recognised. I was like, "Oh, they've got that striker that does this, and they've got that." Have you got any nemesis like that? You know, the ones where you're like, "Oh, they've got that defender that always seems to get up my ass." You come on, let's take some names here, Amy.
I don't even know the names, but there's definitely some that you recognise, and you're like, okay, this is going to be
you've got
a
Lego
shoving battle.
Yeah, that's it. You've got Lego Brick for Brinsworth. You've got Telegraph Pole for Ossett. They've all got nicknames, right?
Yeah. But you do know, like, sometimes before a game you'll go, okay, one of them's got like a fast winger, so we're all like, okay, which one is it? And we're trying to like suss out which one is a bit of a threat to the defence and stuff. But yeah, sometimes you see a centre back and you're like, oh, for goodness sake, not you again.
Oh, it's that one.
Yeah.
How what's your disciplinary record like? Do you get much?
No, I don't think I've ever had a card.
What?
I think I'm pretty good.
You're scoring all them goals and not getting carded?
Yeah. I do give away a few free kicks sometimes when I'm tracking back, and I just take them out instead.
Well, I'm just going to make a note of this. You're not working hard enough, Broomdog. Broomdog, not working hard enough.
I'll have to get some more cards next season.
Yeah, get them in, and I'm like, yes, that's it. There she is. So hang on then. So who are your mates in the squad? Who are the ones that you've got the stories about? Who are the ones that, you know what I mean, that you're like, oh, we had a team night out once and somebody decided it'd be allowed to take the trousers off and chuck them in the canal or something like that?
I know. Well, it sounds like I unfortunately couldn't make the presentation night, but it sounded like that night was a good night. But yeah, because I don't live in Sheffield, sometimes it's a bit hard to get out for those, but I always try and make an effort. But they're all good characters. There's always...
What did you hear? What did you hear from the presentation night? Tell us that.
Oh, I can't even remember.
Drop some names, and who vomited on the shoes? Who was stood over a drain later on that night?
I don't think it was that messy, but I think some of them got a bit drunk. Yeah, I know there always tends to be a drunken speech at presentation night, and that's before we go out. So
that's always one of my favourites. Somebody who jumps on the microphone and goes, "I just wanted to say," and I bet you get one of them, don't you, every year?
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny though, because you know it's going to happen.
yeah. It always gets started with a rousing cheer, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So who are your pals in the team then? Who are the ones, you know, there's got to be a winger feeding at you, or a midfielder or something playing it through to you. What type of, you know, let's talk about that in a second. But who are your mates in the squad?
Yeah, I think we all get on really well. We've got like a good core of people that have been here for like the last couple of seasons, some a bit longer. So there's like a good core, and then obviously everybody that comes in new is all very welcomed, and we all just get along really well. So it's been a good season.
How does it work taking in new players? Because I'm right in thinking that you played a league higher this year.
Yeah, so we got promoted at the end of last season. So this season we're in the league higher. So I was away all of summer because I used to work in America. So I came back for the first game of the season, and I was like, okay, this is a completely different team. It wasn't completely different, but there were some new players. We're playing a different formation. So I think it took us a little bit to gel and stuff, but as soon as we got going, we had a good season.
What type of formation do you prefer? Is it 4-2-3-1, or do you prefer a strike partner?
I personally prefer two up top. I find it easier just working with someone rather than it's the pressing by yourself. That's what always gets me. But
honestly, it's hard work.
It's got to be done. Well,
you just chase it. You've got to turn up to those games where you're playing the top of the league, and you're like, oh no, this is going to be one up front, and it's going to be me randomly, you know, just relentlessly chasing after lost cause after lost cause. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like trying to conserve your energy, so you're not just running around like a lost dog, but also making sure that there is somebody up there and you're not all back. So if it does happen, but yeah, they're my least favourite games, but you've always got to play them.
So which striker are you out the two then? Are you the big tall one or the little nippy one?
It depends. Normally we kind of like rotate and switch it all. But I wouldn't really say much of a target person. I'm not that tall, but I can hold it up. But then I can also run in behind, so it just depends who I'm with and what they'd prefer and that kind of thing. But
you've had a couple of management changes during your time at Sheffield Wednesday. Do you? I'm reticent to say which one do you prefer, but did one play a style of football that you preferred?
I think it's always depended on the league that we're in and the opposition that we have. So if, for example, if we're in a higher league and playing a tougher opposition, it's always going to be one up top to try preserve the defensive midfield and give us as much opportunity there. And then if we're playing like a more lower down team, for example, then we can afford to push people up. So it really just depends on. It's not necessarily set in its way of which way we play, but it does tend to often be one up top recently.
Oh God, that's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if like, let's say for example, right, you're going to play one up top, you've got two decent strikers. Which one of you goes, do you know what, I'll just go on the wing, I'll go out on the right, or I'll go on the left? Have you had to do that yet?
No, it's normally decided for us. So thankfully I've not been on the wing this season, so I've been the one to play up top. But yeah, it's a tough, because it's like kind of a wing back. It's a tough job on that wing, getting up and down.
You're doing the full length of the pitch.
Yeah, some of them are. Yeah,
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's for the short lad. That's for the short lad who goes, I'm going to get on this post for this corner. Crack on, son. And just make sure you cover that line, right? You know what I mean? That's what you're there for. Do that.
Yeah.
Who's got the worst disciplinary record in the squad? Let's do some quick fires.
Ooh,
usually a centre back or a centre mid?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who's had all the bookings this season. Maybe Romy. I feel like she might have had a booking.
Yeah,
she's.
Do you get fined? Oh, you wouldn't know.
Maybe I wouldn't know. Maybe
like
we don't get that many bookings. Normally, we're quite well behaved.
That absolutely shocks me, because Holly plays women's football, we do the podcast with, and she tells me about a booking and a sending off that it seems to happen every week. There's a slew of them, and I have the worst disciplinary record in the Lincolnshire FA in the history of it. So you know, I love a booking.
Yeah.
I received a sending off once for threatening to take out the opposition striker's mother for dinner and never calling her back. I thought it would get a laugh. It didn't. I got a second yellow for that one, so that's fun.
Gosh.
So, who's got the worst dress sense?
Worst dress sense.
Someone's always turning up in a pair, you know, and you're like, Christ, are you wearing that in public? You know, the one that always wears like a tracksuit, like they've just turned up. You know, they turn up on the day of the game, and you're like, oh, someone poured out of bed, and then you realise that's how they dress all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite hard because we always wear the same thing, but I'd have to say Molly always wears bed socks to training, and I find that a questionable choice, but she rocks it, so it's great. I feel like my feet would just get too hot for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Christ, I'd be sweating one out. And like, you know, they tell you to eat a load of garlic and it comes out your feet or something. Can you imagine the smell of that if she's had a garlicky effect the night before? Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Who scores the best goals? You're allowed to say yourself.
Nick or Harriet. They always score good goals. Yeah.
Are they always the ones that like ping in the top bins and you're like, all of mine are inside the 6-yard box, and how do you even finish like that?
Yeah, it's like don't shoot, and then shoot, and you're like, okay, that's why you shot. It goes top corner.
That's fair. And do you ever have to go back for any corners? You know what I mean? Or did they just leave you up there on the halfway line?
Thankfully, I'm the one that's left up. So,
Amy, it is a thankless task. So being a big 6-foot otter, right? They go, right, Budge, get yourself in that 6-yard box for this corner, and you'd go running up there, and then the winger would put one over everybody's head, and it goes out for a throw in, and you've got to run all the way back. It's crap. Yeah. And I always used to look at the strikers and go, you've got a right job there. Look at you, while I'm about to get elbowed in the head. It was
just walk back a little bit there for the out ball, but
I'm here if you need. And then as soon as it gets cleared out, you're just on your bike. You know what I mean?
when I was younger, I had to go on the post, and that was just because you'd run all the way back to be on the post. Nothing had ever happened. Then you've got to run all the way back up for the goal kick.
Who
But
puts a striker on a post? That's the wing back position.
yeah, I think I was a winger that season, but even then, it was still a bit. That coach is very adamant on everybody behind the ball, so there was a lot of tracking back,
Sounds
which
like
I
a lot
wasn't
of
used
running in
to.
that room.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about you yourself outside of football. How do you unwind? What do you do? Are you a gamer? Do you like going shopping? Sorry, that's really pigeonhole-y of me. My apologies. But what do you like? What do you like doing?
Yeah, I guess for me, it's like a lot of my spare time is just catch up with friends, really. That's how I kind of unwind, just spending time with that. And then I work 9 to 5, so that obviously takes up most of my week. And then football's on a Sunday, so Saturdays are just trying to find something to do or seeing friends or that kind of thing.
What do you right? So actually, I'm gonna use this as some professional learning for me, right? So since post-COVID, right, you young folks, you don't go out and get drunk anymore like you used to, right? You know what I mean? You don't do it like you used to. I know there's a good few people still flying the flag in the north, especially the northeast. The Geordies love a beer, but what do you guys do? like I don't know what you do anymore.
Yeah.
I obviously work in hospitality now. I'm genuinely asking, what do you guys do with your spare time? Do you go on walks? Do you go to gyms? What are you going to gigs? Like, what are you doing? What happened to getting effed up?
Yeah, my drinking days were definitely peaked at uni, that's for sure. So ever since I
You make
graduated,
it sound like you're retired.
I know, I feel like it sometimes. It takes me a lot longer to recover.
Yeah, wow, good lord, good lord.
But yeah,
what do you
just going out for drinks, going out for food. I have a lot of friends that live quite far away, so just driving up to see them and just hanging out, watching a film. Yeah, or like going into like Manchester or Leeds and like doing an activity or something.
Doing an activity. What happened to just getting boshed up and drinking Smirnoff Ice? I don't know anymore. I don't know how young people enjoy themselves anymore. I've just realised you've just made me question my career choices. So let's get back to football then. So as you were younger, little Broomdog running around, she's realised she can kick a football at 4 years old at gymnastics. Did your dad have a big influence, or your mum have a big influence in you watching football? Who were your heroes at the time? Was it Marcus Tudgay? Who were the big ones? Who were like the England players that you used to watch and you go, wow, I want to be like them?
Yeah, I think it was all like Beckham and that kind of like that generation of footballers were the first ones that I kind of started watching. But I never really was I used to like love playing football, but I never was a big fan of watching it really. Until I got older. It was only like big games or like tournaments and all that kind of stuff that I really enjoyed watching.
There was a period where I was the same. I used to really like watching a football. I used to go and stand there and think I was one of the lads and all this, and I feel like I'm fitting in, but I couldn't kick a ball for toffee. I only learned how to play football, which, all the other kids seemed to be a lot better than me. And then it wasn't until I was about 13, 14 that I actually start playing, and then realized and then there's a period, I don't know if you were the same, where you don't really know what you're supposed to be doing in a certain position. Do you know what I mean? Did you ever feel like there was a point in your career where you were like, I know that I'm supposed to kick the ball over there, so I play striker? Like, is there a point, like if they chuck your left back, you'd be like, I don't know what to do here?
Yeah, I think obviously striker's so natural to me. I don't even think about it. It just kind of happens. And on the wings, I can kind of gauge. But yeah, central midfield, I can play it, but I need someone to shout at me the whole time and be like, okay, like come close this way, go further away. Like, it's just like my positioning. Like, it just confuses me as to where I should be because it's just so unnatural to me. But yeah, I feel like on the wings it's a lot easier to switch into, but the central midfield and like the tracking back and all that just confuses me.
I'm glad you've said that, because I'm the same. I used to watch some of these kids I played centre mid with, and what they can do in such small, tight areas of space and the way they see a pass and stuff like that. I wish my brain worked like that.
Yeah, and we've got some great centre mids as well. I mean, we've got some great players, but yeah, it's just like to receive the ball and get rid of it so quick. It's great.
So let's talk about some of the other players, and let's talk about some of those players you've named. Have you had some that have come this season where you're like, wow, where have you been? Because it's difficult. Like we had Matt Hamshaw on this segment of the show, and he was saying that when Sheffield Wednesday got promoted from League One back into the Championship, he said that they broke up a lot of the team as they brought more players in. You mentioned that you've got a good attitude in terms of welcoming new players in, but has there been some new girls this season where you're like, where have you been?
Yeah. I mean, we've got some really good players, but we're quite fortunate that the season before we had a bit of like a rejig, a redevelop, and that's where a lot of our core players came from. So we've managed to maintain that and build on that. But yeah, we've had some great players come in this season.
Tell us about it. Tell us about the redevelopment, because I'm hearing a lot more about the women's team more than I have before, I must admit. And there's definitely something changed a couple of years ago. What was it?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think we just kind of restructured how we're going to do things. So like my first 2 seasons, we got relegated both seasons. So I think we kind of took that where we were and we're like, okay, this season we want to get promoted back to where we were.
Smashing the place up.
Yeah. Obviously got new coaches in, got some good new players, and we just decided that's like a core to build on from that. And like it said a lot in the dressing room, we're on a journey. So it's all about building and developing and just improving from where we are.
Wow. And then when Chansiri spends $200 million on buying the women's team, you'll be there right at the forefront of it, Amy, right?
Yeah, if that day ever happens.
So in terms of going forward, then what aspirations have you got? You are, I know it's a Sheffield Wednesday podcast, you are allowed to say that you wouldn't mind going into the professional game.
Yeah, I think for us it's like just taking it step by step. You don't want to be too ahead of yourself. So I think obviously last year was to just stay in the league that we are. So this year is just going to be to build on that. We're not necessarily putting pressure on ourselves by saying that we've got to reach this target. It's just we want to improve and then get ourselves ready for eventually getting promoted from this league and just building ourselves up steadily rather than just jumping the gun.
That all sounds very measured. I'd be sat here going, look, I scored 1 million goals last season. Season before I scored 1 million more. I want to score 2 million this year. You know what I mean? I mean, what are your scoring stats? The one from the season before was insane before you got promoted, right? Yeah,
I think it was about 40 something. Yeah.
I'd have it tattooed on me, Broomdog.
Yeah. And then it was only about 12 this season, so it wasn't as good. But
did you get overtaken in the scoring charts this season?
I don't think so. I think there's about 3 of us that ended up on about the same kind of.
I'd get on the group chat and find out now. Like, did anybody beat me on the goals last year? Because I want to know. But I know you're a Wednesday fan, so let's talk about the club in its current guise. We are in trouble right now, aren't we?
Big time. Yeah. It just gets worse and worse as the day goes on.
I don't see when the end is going to be. Sometimes when something like this is happening, you know that things will get sorted in a few weeks or a few months and stuff like this. But Chansiri seems to be digging his heels in. Danny Roll clearly don't want to come back to work. The players aren't getting paid, but then Barry Bannon said he'll stay. So everybody's happy about that. And and it's incredible. Have you got like a favourite player for the current crop of players from last season?
I do like Bannon. I just think like his loyalty, he's what, 34, 35 and he's still pinging balls about like there's no tomorrow. I mean, who doesn't love him as a Wednesday fan?
So are you aspiring to be a prolific striker like Ike Ugbo?
Yeah, I'm really hoping so. Yeah.
Do you see that? Do you see like things in like the men's game? You know, like for example, Michael Smith, who could start a fight in a phone box, and do you like look at him and go, I could do more of that. I reckon I could get more of that if I added that to my game. Do you kind of steal things from other players' games?
Yeah, sometimes I think it's hard to compare like the men's game to the women's game, but sometimes you do see them that like just leave a shoulder in and all that kind of stuff, and you do think, oh, maybe I could be a little bit more aggressive. See where that gets me.
I would absolutely love to read about you elbowing someone square in the nose, and I'll go, yes, Broomdog. There she goes. There she goes.
Yeah.
Listen, Amy, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. When does the season start for you guys?
It's usually start of September.
And have you noticed the crowds are getting any bigger, or are people more? I say crowds, but like, you know, it's not just one man and his dog anymore. There's normally you can sometimes get 30, 40 people at that type of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it depends on the game as well. Like when we played Sheffield United under 21s in the County Cup, there was quite a big turnout for that as well. I think it's just like the name. You see Sheffield Wednesday, you see United. I think that drew quite a big crowd, but it's definitely getting bigger, yeah. And there's a lot more faces that you recognise that are coming to watch.
And do they allow flares at these grounds? Can I take some smoke bombs, that type of thing? Just stand there with a flare.
Sadly not, I don't think so.
And blazoned across my chest, you know what I mean? That'd be good. Because I was trying to look at the league and find out where, because you were you in the same league as Sheffield United this year?
In their community, they've run a bit differently, but in their community team, yeah. And
they finished bottom of the league, didn't they? You got to get that in.
Yeah. I think they ended up on like a minus 100 goal difference or something. So,
wow. Well, let's hope that something happens in terms of moving the club forward, and I truly hope that I read more about you. And obviously, if you leave Sheffield Wednesday, you're dead to me. But I really encourage you to try and take your career as far forward as you can. Broomdog, it's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure we keep that nickname going.
Thank you for having me.
It's been my pleasure. Stay on the line, and Simon's going to list off some social medias for you.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.